Well, good morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook Live. This is the Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk 101.1 FM. I'm Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Sparky, good morning, my friend.
Good morning.
Happy Friday.
Happy frickin' Friday.
Happy Flail Friday.
Happy Flail Friday. And we're going to double up with him next week.
Are we?
I confirmed he is going to join Anthony on Thursday.
Fantastic.
He said there is one thing that he has to do, though.
What's that?
Lose the shades.
See, I told you. I called it yesterday. I told everybody. We were sitting here having a grand conversation. You know, when he first started doing this, I was worried that he was hiding a shiner or something from us.
Like bets got to him.
Exactly. He's like, oh, you think you could talk smack about my Bears, can you? And, and just went that way. But no, obviously not. He just thinks he's cool that way. And like he told us yesterday, you might just be like the kid from Big Daddy. He can't talk in front of people without some sunglasses on.
I get it.
Does he do the comedy show with the sunglasses on? I haven't seen him up there in a while.
Not lately.
No. So maybe it is that. Maybe it's just radio.
But it's pretty dark in a comedy club.
You know what? That's true too. And wearing sunglasses would make it a lot easier. You don't have to see anybody out in the crowd laugh at you.
You bomb.
Yeah, well, I keep telling them the feet jokes aren't landing.
No.
Man. I keep telling them that.
That is gross.
You don't listen to us. But it is the Early Bird Special. Yesterday was day one of the NFL draft. We had a handful of surprises, handful of risers, handful of fallers. Looked like Dave Orlovsky had something right because Ty Simpson went a lot higher than people expected into a team no one expected as the LA Rams decided to take a shot on the kid.
Coach McVay was not happy.
Well, look, man, he had to reach out to his quarterback, Matthew Stafford, and assure him,
you're the starter.
You're okay. They had to do essentially what Atlanta had to do with Kirk Cousins. Don't worry. You're not going anywhere. It's not the plan, at least not my plan. I don't know why they did this. Well, we all know why they did this. The Rams do not expect to be at the top of the draft next year when all of these illustrious quarterbacks are going to be going. Your Archie Mannings, your Trinidad Chamblises. They're not going to be there. And they're going to need to find a suitable replacement for Matthew Stafford in the near future. Why not take the second best quarterback in this year's draft if you think the rest of your roster is pretty much set in stone? I mean, I expected them to at least take Mekhi Lemon and get a third wide receiver, I should say, in there to, build up a little bit before Adams eventually moves on as well. But they felt the quarterback was a more necessary move.
I thought they were going to address the cornerback position personally.
It was up in the air, but I think after taking the Chiefs' heart and lungs with McDuffie and, Dean, what was the other one that ended up signing over there as well? But again, I think that they realize they have the pieces that they want, and they've been doing this F them picks thing for a long time. They have their own plan. I think at this point, if anybody can honestly say they have a plan, it's the Los Angeles Rams.
I don't think they have a plan together, though, because if you watch the post afterwards, McVay was pissed.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely fair. And maybe they don't have a plan that involves Sean McVay. Because again,
yeah, I mean, that's been rumors too.
We've talked about that a couple times. There is a considerable possibility that Sean walks away here in the near future and retires from coaching, even though he hasn't necessarily been a coach for that long. And he would have an incredible career in the booth. He really would. Maybe the Rams are kind of planning for that. And planning on finding the heir apparent, not only to Matthew Stafford, but to Sean McVay.
Yeah, and he reassured. He said this is a battle that he'll do with Bennett as the backup.
Oh, 100%.
And even the reporter's like, well, if you're just working on a backup, why would you use a first-round pick for it? He said that's a discussion we'll have after this.
Right. And again, now he also knows that this entire season, all they're going to be talking about is, when is the time for Ty Simpson? When are they going to make this decision? And we talked about it again at the beginning of last season. Matthew Stafford dealing with the back injury. How serious was it? He had to get epidural shots in order to even play football. So how messed up was he?
It wasn't that bad because he won MVP.
Exactly. Maybe epidural shots are
but I get it.
Michael Jordan sauce.
My team is not even in the same discussion. And I think the Rams have a winning franchise for a reason.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes the GM and coaches aren't on the same page. I think it was a good pick. I just thought it was super early.
Either that or Dan Orlovsky has some people inside that Rams room and made some calls and say, if you don't take this kid right now and make me look good on television, I don't know what I'm going to do. But again, there are people who believe in Ty Simpson. I'm skeptical. The kid maybe went to Alabama, was the starter, but he played and started in 15 games.
Yeah, there's a lot of bench warming.
He's 24 years old, which, again, along with Stetson Bennett, the two backup quarterbacks that you guys chose in LA for, for future play, just so happen to be two of the oldest quarterbacks in their draft classes. Should have taken Carson Beck too at that point, but it made sense to me at the time why they made this move, especially all the reasoning behind it. I get it. But I also get why people are up in arms about this, including Coach McVay, especially if they didn't run this by McVay in the first place. I just don't think I don't think this is the guy. I think everybody's going to be looking at this as, this could be the heir apparent. And then when he finally gets his shot, we're all going to realize, wow, we waited 4 years for this.
And while they're in the middle of a, contract negotiation with Stafford, using a first-round pick on a quarterback was not what I was expecting, but there was a lot of trades, and that's where I thought, okay, well, the Rams usually are the guys that trade out of the first round, trade their picks, and I was expecting maybe they would trade into next year's draft and get out of this year's draft. But personally, it might work out, it might not. Nobody knows anything. Like we talked about yesterday, the draft experts are like meteorologists. They all are throwing just options and their guesses, and we'll see. I mean, there was a lot of teams. I mean, we'll talk about it with Flail because I know you guys have a link now with the USC receiver going over to Philly, which I thought was a solid pickup. And I think it just kind of confirms that we're probably seeing AJ Brown on his way out, which is not a big surprise.
No, I think everybody kind of saw the writing on the wall with that one, and it's just waiting for that June 1st date to really get done. I would not be surprised if we wake up at midnight on June 1st to the announcement of AJ Brown headed towards New England to be with Mike Vrabel again. And I agree. I loved the pickup for Philadelphia. I think Mekhi Lemon's going to be a great receiver for them, especially filling those shoes. Is he a big-bodied guy? Not necessarily. Jacoby Lane, the other wide receiver from USC, took care of that most of the time. But Mekhi is one of those guys that you can move around a lot. You could put him in the slot. You could have him run across the field, and he'll be wide open for whatever, in route that you need him to be. And he's going to develop into a great wide receiver.
Put him over there with Devontae. I mean, that could be a scary offense.
And I was kind of worried with Pittsburgh coming up. I said, oh, God, no, please no. Not another USC quarterback going to Pittsburgh, please. But again, everything went pretty close to the way we were expecting it. A lot of offensive linemen taken in the first round, a lot of movement from trades. And honestly, more shocking to me that draft picks that were moved yesterday weren't ones that were for next year. A lot of them for this year's draft, including the Kansas City Chiefs moving up a couple spots to pick Mansour, the top corner in the draft, which
that one hurt.
Yeah, I think everybody, I mean, when they saw that trade, I only knew of one player they could be moving up for, since Jeremiah Love was obviously off the board. And after losing Trent McDuffie, you got to figure out something to do to bolster that secondary. And they didn't just lose McDuffie. They lost their number one, which was McDuffie, number two corner, and their top safety as well, who was headed for Cincinnati.
I figured it was going to be him or it was going to be Downs.
Yeah, Caleb Downs would have been a great one as well. And honestly, probably the more safe pick, if I'm being honest. But it starts at the corner position. The safety is nice to have as a safety blanket, but the corner is really who does the brunt of the work. And when you're going up against some top tier wide receivers all year long, you've got to have somebody there that can keep up. I think Mansour is going to be a great pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. It hurts me a little bit to see that the Chiefs got better and didn't have to give up any draft capital for next year's draft. They just gave up later picks for this year's draft, which, let's be honest, probably is going to be a beneficial thing for them. But I mean, that is the most logical move, in my opinion, of the first round. What was yours?
They got a guy, man, and I was a little burnt because even in my mock draft, I thought he was going to land in Miami. And personally, I mean, we talked about it yesterday with Bolt, but the 50-50 in Vegas was the Jets were either going to get Bailey or getting somebody like Reese. Were you shocked at all that the Jets went Bailey instead of Reese?
No, everything I had read was David Bailey was the favorite to be taken at number 2, just solely because of his athletic ability and the amount of sacks that he got. Arvell Reese is going to be fine. He's going to do great with the Giants. And I had my brother-in-law text me and laugh because he said now the Giants have 4 first-round defensive ends on that roster. And he's right, which means some of them are going to be on the move, whether it's Thibodeau or my personal choice. If I'm going to guess right now, wouldn't be surprised if Abdul Carter gets moved. I know he just got drafted, and some people are sitting there thinking, are you nuts? What did he do last year? Not a whole ton outside of become a massive talking point for the media at the end of the season when he was falling asleep during meetings. And supposedly, I still don't know if this one's true because I've heard that it's not, but I've also heard that it is. But he was watching certain videos that he should not have been watching during training or during film sessions. So obviously, if these stories are true, there's a little bit of animosity already within the locker room and this player. Abdul Carter is most likely one of those guys that might get moved, in my opinion.
I think we'll see. I mean, obviously they're not going to keep all of them after this season, but we'll see because now it's Harbaugh time with the Giants, and he's got some young stud defensive players on top of getting a stud of an offensive lineman. And I'm like, dude, Harbaugh is building a team out there.
Oh, yeah. No.
And considering, I mean, the one surprise, I wasn't expecting Jeremiah Love to go to Arizona, but he's a stud, dude. He is a badass. And, we've seen Cardinals. I mean, Connor's been dealing with injuries for the last few years, and I think they got a steal out of him.
And Tyler Algier is down there as well. So
that's right
with the building of this young running back. But yeah, the majority of the carries will go to Jeremiah Love. I, like you, was shocked, but yesterday, I should say, all I was hearing is the highest he could go is potentially 3, which shocked me at first, but I understood because Arizona has an unproven run game right now. And really, they'll take anybody that's going to bolster that run game, whether it's Tyler Algier or Jeremiah Love. And there really wasn't another for sure pick for them. There was no player out there in the draft outside of Jeremiah that was a home run hit. So it made a lot of sense to me that they took the shot on it since they didn't trade the pick away. But again, I just don't know if they have the offensive line capability to make this a good season for him, much like the Raiders last year with Ashton Genty. And although, again, incredible talents are these 2 running backs, and if they get a good offensive line in front of them, we will see that. I just don't know if Arizona has that right now. And that is what worries me. You can have all the great skill players in the world, but as we've seen, if you don't have the guys there to protect them or open the holes for them, doesn't matter, especially in the NFL. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully that works out for the Cardinals. I don't know. The biggest surprise to me, honestly, was you guys taking Proctor so early at 11. Now, I like Caleb Proctor. I love him as a tackle. And again, I told you guys a couple times, I think there's going to be a lot of really good offensive linemen, or at least really good starters in this draft class. You've seen most of them go in the first day. Muagoa from Miami, Spencer Fanu, I think is going to be a fantastic pickup.
You look at that first 15, 20 picks. I mean, if they weren't Ohio State or players out of Florida.
Yeah, it really was a narrow draft but
when it got to Miami, you're on the clock, and I was like, all right, it looks like it's going to be Downs, Bain, or somebody like that.
Right.
We're going to go defense. And they trade out, and I was like, okay, maybe they're just stacking picks. They have a lot of holes to fill. And then I'm like, okay, Dallas is going to get Downs. And sure enough, they went and got him, which congratulations. I think he's going to be a stud in Dallas. But I was like, okay, what are these Miami Dolphins doing? And when I saw Proctor, I knew the kid. I knew he was a monster. I remember watching him with the screenplay where he ran it in. And, I mean, 6'7", 350 plus. I mean, we're not building for a championship this season. So I would say for the last 20 years, the Dolphins' issue has been on the offensive line. And now we've got Patrick Paul. That's now the left tackle, a young stud. We've brought back Austin Jackson, Brewer. I think, talking or hearing from the GM afterwards, they're going to move him to guard. But this is what their GM had to say after the pick.
He's rare. He's a 350-pound man with unique athletic traits that can play 4 spots across the line of scrimmage. The left tackle, right tackle, both guards. The athletic traits for a man his size are through the roof. All I can tell you is that there wasn't another one in the draft like him, period.
I think he's right. And
Yeah.
I really thought, okay, well, we're going to go receiver. They only have Malik Washington and a couple other, third, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 3s. And I remember, a lot of the past Dolphins receivers, besides Waddle, a lot of them were 3rd, 4th round steals. And we have so many damn picks. And just moving down 1 pick was able to stack 2 more 5th rounders. And I just think it's the one thing I did like about the Dolphins picks was the cornerback Chris Johnson later in the draft. I thought he was a steal. I didn't get to see a lot of San Diego State football this season, but what I saw at the Senior Bowl and what I saw at the workouts, I think he's gonna step up. He's got a lot to learn, obviously moving from college to the NFL and coming from a smaller school like San Diego State. But the kid can play.
Well, but it's like you said, you guys aren't necessarily vying for a Super Bowl next season. Not that you aren't hoping for it, but more of the ceiling is probably playoffs. And that's a pretty dang high ceiling at this point. And taking Proctor is a great move because obviously you protect Malik Willis and you give him more time to throw to whoever the hell he has to throw the ball to.
An A-chain, you're going to hide behind that kid.
True. I just assumed you would be able to get that with that later pick later on. And I really thought they would take a shot at the Mekhi Lemon here with him still on the board at 11. But again, they're looking to more fortify the offensive line, maybe get A-chain a little bit more running room and give time to throw to whoever the hell it is. And maybe you're right. Maybe you guys find another just 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick that ends up being that guy for the Miami Dolphins in the future.
Yeah. I think we're going to be one of the top 5 teams next offseason when it comes to salary cap, now that we can get past all these past overpaid contracts. Thank you, Chris Greer. But I'm excited, dude, just as a Dolphins fan, because not only did we bring a whole new regime, but we finally got rid of, our GM that's been doing crazy things for a decade plus.
God only knows.
And, the Packers way, that was one of the things, bringing over all these Packers management and coaching is starting in the trenches, getting those big guys on the offensive line. And I would expect them to pick up another defensive lineman and probably go hard at the secondary and receiver today.
So obviously we talked about one of our biggest shockers, which was the Jeremiah Love going at number 3. My top logical move, at least, was the Kansas City Chiefs moving up 3 spots to get Mansour Delane to be able to bolster their defensive backs. But what do you think was the most logical move from one of these teams yesterday? Either if it was a trade, a draft pick, which one of these moves looked at you and said, okay, this one made the most sense across the board? And obviously we'll leave Fernando off because that's just easy pickings.
I liked the Sonny Styles from the Commanders.
Yeah.
I thought that was a hell of a pick.
He
at
dropped
that position.
Lower than I expected. That is one shock that I did not bring up, which was Carnell Tate going at number 4, the wide receiver from Ohio State. Not that he wasn't good enough to go there, but with Robert Saleh coming in, everybody was talking defense down there in Tennessee. I thought for sure we were going to get Sonny Styles or one of these defensive studs over there, Ruben Bain, if they wanted to take a shot on him. But they decided they would rather get Cam someone to throw to. Do you think Cam had something to do with that, though? Do you think Cam maybe, because he did say that he is kind of in the room when it comes to the coaching aspect of everything. So I would assume he's in the room when it comes to who's getting drafted.
Probably. I mean, even, and you brought up Bain. I was shocked how far he went because, a couple of weeks ago, he was in the top 5 before this story dropped. And like you said yesterday, I mean, every year one of these stories come out a week or two before the draft. That's
not what they even said was the reason. Everyone keeps talking about his arm length, and I get it because, again, when we first broke these guys down, I told you guys no defensive end in the NFL since 1999 has gotten 10-plus sacks with the length of arms that Bain has. I mean, they're that short. I mean,
He's got alligator arms.
Yeah, people called him T-Rex arms yesterday on the McAfee show. But this kid is still legit. Like, he's still a great defensive end. I just don't. I don't understand why everybody was citing that. Like, I get that the physical intangibles may not be there, but we've looked past that before. I mean, I feel like the bigger story, or at least the bigger reason, was the car crash situation and the fact that that wasn't reported at all, and where the heck all the questions are about that. But again,
was there
that's
one
just
that
not
made
something
you scratch your head and be like, what are you doing?
to be honest, not a whole ton. A lot of these players, again, I wasn't expecting a lot of big names being taken outside of the top 10 anyway. But I guess the biggest what are you doing that I saw was everybody passing on some of these big guys like Mekhi Lemon in the middle rounds, or the middle part of this round. I really did expect a lot more wide receivers to be taken off the board, especially with teams like the Saints needing them. And I know the Saints took their guy from Arizona State, which everybody is very high on, Jordan Tyson. I think Mekhi Lemon's better, but we'll find out.
That kid needs to drink some milk.
Absolutely. But I mean, not necessarily. I can't look at the first round at all and really say that any of these picks shocked me too much. I think everybody pretty much addressed what they needed to. I think there are some more shocking picks than others. I didn't expect Kenyon Sadiq to be taken so high by the Jets at 16. Not that, again, he doesn't deserve to be taken that high, but I just didn't expect them to take a tight end there. And maybe Blake Miller right after that at 17, but to the Lions, when there were a couple other players they could have taken instead, but they like Blake Miller probably for the same reasons that the Miami Dolphins like Caden Proctor, because a lot of these linemen could play almost every position. You can really move them wherever you need to. That's why I genuinely feel like a lot of these guys are going to be solid starters in this league because they're positionless. A good morning.
It's teams like Green Bay, like the Dolphins now, which now we're the Miami Packers, but even teams like Detroit, those are the digging in the trenches type teams. They build with the offensive line and fill the holes afterwards. But my favorite day of the draft is day 2.
Yeah.
Because that's when, you find those steals in the gyms that not those, the Mel Kipers, these are the ones where you find out which teams have good scout teams.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because it really does matter what you take in days 2 and 3 that determine how the rest of the season is going to go. I told you guys yesterday, one of the best things about the draft is the hope that it gives each fan. The hope that that 6th round kid is going to turn into the next Aaron Donald. The likelihood of it happening, minuscule, but it's still on the possibility list here. So I agree with you. I think 2 and 3 is going to be entertaining. The Patriots will be doing it without their head coach, who we just figured out yesterday. There's more to this story, and we'll get to that after the break because we said it yesterday, man. They should have just came out and said it. They should have just came out and said it because now it's going to get worse.
Oh, yes.
Now it's going to get so much worse. But again, we'll get to that after the break.
And before we go to the break, how about them Condors, baby?
Absolutely. I told you guys you needed to be out there for this. You had to be there. And if you weren't, you missed out.
We got some fights, 6 goals. Let's go.
They're going to get it when we get over to Coachella Valley on Saturday, too. We're going to make this a 2-game series. We're sweet.
Come on back home.
Absolutely. And we're going to get one more home game in which, if you missed out on this one, don't do it a second time. Go support your Condors. I'm telling you right now, the Calder Cup is within reach. I don't care what rank we are. You've heard Holtzy on this show multiple times. Nobody wants to see this team right now. Not a single person wants to see our Condors right now. And there's a reason for that. So go be a part of it. Let's take a break real quick. We'll get into some other stories on the other side, including the 2 biggest coaching scandals when it comes to women of the past year. Yes, we have an update on Mike Vrabel and this Diana Rossini situation. Seems like the 2 of them have been canoodling for much longer than we thought. And Sherrone Moore's former assistant also came out as Paige Shaver talked to, I believe, Good Morning America. I'm not 100% sure who did the interview, but she had some choice things to say about the coach not getting prison time. So we'll let you know what she said about that on the other side as well. This is the Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk. Welcome back. You don't get Michael very often.
Yes, the new Michael movie is released today.
Are you excited for this or no?
We'll see.
Yeah.
I know my son is hitting the road today, so everybody watch out
Uh-oh.
and get out the way
Yeah.
because Nicholas Van Band is on the road.
Look, man, he's a new driver too, so give the kid some grace. But
Oh, he's a badass driver.
I'm just saying.
He's already better driver than my wife. So.
Oh, well, yeah. As long as he doesn't get speeding tickets on the way to Vegas,
Yeah.
I think we'll be okay.
No. We can't afford that. Another one.
Let's get to some of these other stories before we get to our guest of the day, as Chris Flail joins us at 8 o'clock. He usually does. We'll talk about his upcoming show. If you are in the area and want to go check out Chris Flail and our guy Anthony Howdige, they will be in your area. The NFL draft, obviously, and WWE, all things wrestling. So we'll get to that.
And the NBA playoffs.
Yes. Even though the Knicks can't play defense.
And what happened last night?
Can't play defense, Sparky. You
No.
heard Kendrick Perkins. He said it perfectly a couple days ago. They cannot play defense. We don't got to play the audio right now. It's all good.
No, I'm trying to figure out who won the late game.
So Cleveland lost to Toronto. I know that the Hawks beat the Knicks by 1. I don't know why I want to say Nuggets. The Knicks by 1. And what was the late game?
T-Wolves and Nuggets.
I want to. Oh, you know what?
I think Denver dropped in.
You're absolutely correct. I didn't check who they absolutely did. 113-96. Wow.
Yeah.
Again,
That's crazy playoffs already.
I'm excited to see how everything goes about or everything transpires. But we were just talking about this the other day. It seemed like the top 4 seeds on both sides of the playoff was going to walk away with the win in the first round. And not so much there, because if the Minnesota Timberwolves have a 2-1 lead over the Nuggets now, I'm worried. I genuinely am. I know Nikola Jokic is great. I know Jamal Murray is fantastic, but I need to get in Bolt's ear here because, I mean, did we forget? I mean, I know I haven't been talking about it, so maybe it's my fault, but this team did make it to the Western Conference Finals last year. I think we're sleeping. I may be sleeping too much on the Minnesota Timberwolves. They may
how many years they've been playing each other in the playoffs, but maybe.
I mean, could you imagine though if they get past the Nuggets? I mean, that gives them a good chance down the Spurs. It really does. I know the Spurs are a little bit more talented than the Nuggets due to youth, but experience kills in the playoffs the deeper you get. And Anthony Edwards is, again, probably supposed to be the face of the NBA. Everybody just is.
And there's a night filled with basketball. I know the first game is Boston at Philly, Lakers at Houston, which Durant and I saw Reeves is questionable to play. He might return tonight. And then the Spurs and Portland. I haven't heard anything about Wemby, but I would expect Wemby to be out at least this game.
That was a really rough fall, so I wouldn't be surprised if you're absolutely correct there, and we have to wait a game at least in order to see Wemby back on a basketball court. But knowing Wemby, he's going to get back as soon as humanly possible.
Right.
So wouldn't be surprised if we see him tonight dressed up, at least, if not coming off the bench. That was a really gnarly fall, though, that led to the concussion. I just haven't seen a basketball player held out by a concussion, at least in the playoffs, in a long time. But then again, not a lot of people have taken the hit to the head that Wemby has. Do the Rockets pull off a win tonight, though? I mean, are we going to see this series turn around as with Houston? I will have no Los Angeles Lakers. It is a completely different game in Houston, as you heard Bolt Brady say the other day.
But with no Durant, maybe, who knows?
Again, I say if the Lakers win this third game,
yeah, it's over.
Tell Austin and Luka to sit down. We're gonna be fine. We'll have LeBron and Rui and all the boys over here handle it, and you guys can come back around 2 as they prepare for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Because let's be honest, probably the only series that's gonna be wrapped up in 4 at this point. No disrespect, no.
You're probably right.
They're just too damn good. The Thunder are too damn good. We said the same thing last year. It looked effortless for them walking into the dang finals. Not going to be that effortless this year, but this team is just that damn good that they might just be able to walk over everybody and make it look that easy.
And they just lost Jalen Williams for a week or two.
And that's not going to hurt them because they've played the vast majority of the season without Jalen.
Without him.
So lean on SGA, have him drop 30. And at this point, continue the defensive plays they're known for. And I'm pretty sure you're going to walk over the Suns. But I would also expect the refs to probably give back to the Suns in game 3, just solely because what we saw in game 2 and all the really bad refereeing that happened. Although, you know, certain players did call out certain referees by name, never actually happens. And I don't blame him, though. I was just about to say you can't do that, but I don't blame Devin at all. That was some ridiculous officiating in game 2. I still say that technical that he got was absolutely absurd. I'm sorry. If you disagree with me, I'm sorry, but I just cannot get around the fact that a referee called a technical when the player was trying to save the ball from going out of bounds. You're going to have to explain that to me because it wasn't malicious. It's not like he grabbed the ball and threw it at somebody.
I just think it was yapping all game.
Yeah. And again, I agree with you. I'm sure there's more to it than we know.
There was a warning before, and he was like, dude, next time I hear your voice like this,
I'm gonna tee you up. And I agree with that 100%. If that is the case, and a long-standing thing, or at least something that started at the beginning of the game and it grew to this point, I will agree with you 100%, Sparky. That makes sense. But until that is proven, or until we hear the referee, which we never will, I just can't understand why you would make that call. I really can't. But again, we'll get into all of that later on next week because the NBA playoffs are going to be here for the foreseeable future. And we are very, very excited to keep watching. However, there's some sports stories out of the world of football that we have to get to. And they're not even really sports stories. Let's be honest. They're more just drama. We got an update on the Mike Vrabel situation. I just want to get this out of the way because we've been talking about this way too much this week. And I knew there was going to be one drama-related story during the draft because there always is, but we told you guys yesterday Mike Vrabel wasn't going to be there for day 3 of the draft with the New England Patriots. That has since changed. He's not there at all, period, from day 1 to day 3, as he says that his family needs him after more pictures came out. Yes, new pictures came out of him and Diana Rossini, not at this resort that they both claim they were at with friends. No. At casinos, at bars together. I mean, these two were dating for what they're claiming is about 6 years. This relationship has been going on. There's now pictures coming out of Diana and Mike Vrabel on a craps table, I believe, or some sort of casino table back in 2024 after he was fired from the Tennessee Titans. So she's been following him a long time. And I tried to say this yesterday. If you would have just came out and told all of us this was happening, granted, still adulterous, but at least Americans would have respected you for it. Now that we're figuring out that you guys were canoodling for 6 years behind your husband and wife's backs, all those videos of her saying, oh, I was in Miami, but I didn't tell my husband a dang thing what I did in Miami. He gonna judge me. Yeah, I think a lot of people would judge you if they knew they were cheating. Because I guarantee you right now, Mike Vrabel was probably in Miami. All these stories of her, or all these videos of her talking about like NFL officials thinking she's hitting on them and all this stuff because she's trying to get their numbers for insider stuff. I guarantee right now, I am so, like, everything I see of this woman's making me hate her more and more. So I'm trying to just put it off to the side here. But now that we know this has been going on for 6 years, there is a level of discomfort for Mike Vrabel in this as well when it comes to his job.
As it should be.
Because you were doing this before you were the head coach again of the New England Patriots. Whether they knew about this or not and overlooked it, we do not know. But if they know you have been fanoodling with the reporter for over 6 years, God only knows the information you have been funneling to her.
Of course.
There's going to be repercussions coming back on Mike Vrabel. Whether this comes down to a firing, highly doubt. But
might lose a couple draft picks.
Maybe. I could absolutely see that being the case because the NFL, with more and more of this stuff coming out, and again, now it has to be someone within the NFL that knew this was happening. Because if it was a PI hired by the husband or the wife, this would have been uncovered forever ago. Because there's no couple that sits on pictures for 6 years. So this was 100% someone within the NFL that knew this was happening and needed some sort of proof of it. It has been apparently compiling proof of it for 6 years. And we're just now hearing about it right now. Whether that's on purpose or not, have no idea. But now all I'm thinking is Diana Rossini's only got one possible co-host for this new podcast for her, and it's Joy Taylor. Because the stories you could hear out of those two women's mouths would be absolutely endless. I just can't believe that this is something that 6 years, dog. 6 years.
Yeah, and you've been messing around for that long, and your immediate answer when it first came out was,
we're just friends.
We're just friends.
We're just, nothing's happening. What are you talking about? We're just friends. You guys don't know anything.
And so many, respected journalists was like, hey, maybe they are just friends. Maybe they are. And to go back and seeing all this, and, the report first came out saying that the people that had the photos were trying to sell them before they leaked. So whoever or whomever has been sitting on these for a long time.
Yeah, but I highly doubt that Vrabel's wife or Diana Rossini's husband, who's been hearing his wife talk absolute crap about him on live television for years, highly doubt they just sat on these for 6 years. No way in hell. So whomever knew about this in the NFL had the info and either tried to share it and nothing happened out of it, or saw it, said, I'll sit on this, whatever. It's just them messing around. That's not going to do anything football wise.
And I heard other reporters talking about it before the draft. Sports Center was even getting into it and saying, I think it was Stephen A that said it, but he's like, really? You're going to wait until the draft?
Right.
And on top of that, Vrabel being a respected coach, you're going to pick this weekend to start? I'm like, okay,
that's what is weird to me. Why didn't we see these earlier? At least the ones that obviously weren't taken before the NFL meetings. The ones of them in the bar, the ones of them in the casino together. Like, this had to have been the worst kept secret in the entire organization. There's no way no one knew about this. Because if you guys are that public about it, someone has seen you. Anyone has seen you. You're both way too famous, may not be the right word, but well known in your own fields that somebody saw you and someone knew about this. So why did we wait this long to really get it? And why were the ones that came out of the adult-only resort the first ones we saw? I don't know. This whole thing is just weird. It has to be somebody within the NFL that is leaking this to hurt Vrabel.
Genius. They're building up the story, and then we like, go ahead.
And look, man.
Act like you didn't do it, because I've got more photos.
Exactly. And that's honestly probably what's happening here is the more you deny it, the more truth is going to come out. So like I said yesterday, just freaking say it already. We all know. This is like when your buddy in high school is dating the girl, but they never hang out. They're on opposite sides of the school together, but they walk home together every single day and they think no one notices. Just say it already, you freaking, oh God. And the other side of this, or not of this, the other story that we got to get to before we get to a break, Sherrone Moore, former head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. We all know his story. A couple months ago, had a falling out because there was an investigation that came up that he was having a relationship with his assistant for a long time. And when that came to light, he lost his job, had a big old mental breakdown, broke into her house. And mind you, they're not together at this point, supposedly. Breaks into her house, threatens not only to kill himself, but to kill her. gets arrested, faced a ton of just scrutiny and court charges and all that, in which he was absolved of most. Well, the woman involved in all of this, his assistant or former assistant, has finally come out and spoke as she had an interview. Paige Shaver had this to say about Sherrone Moore and this entire situation and how she felt it ended.
You alleged that you faced years of harassment, manipulation, and exploitation at the hands of Sherrone Moore. How so?
I mean, gosh, here's a man that had complete control over me, over my emotions, over my career. And he knew that, and he used it against me. Every time I tried to pull away, every time I tried to and get out of even Michigan, he always had a story, always had a way to pull me in and making me feel that I couldn't leave him because he was so miserable without me.
Obviously, that reaching a height at the apex of all of this when he broke into her home and threatened to kill himself with a knife. These stories are so tricky because obviously there is truth to what she is saying. He had power in the situation he was in. The man was an assistant coach when she began as his assistant. That is where apparently the relationship began. When he got the head coaching job after Jim Harbaugh left, he immediately then promoted her to his assistant as a head coach. And I believe they said doubled, if not tripled, her salary. And that's where I kind of find this a little weird. There were multiple investigations into this during this time, not just the one that actually showed the relationship at the end. They had at least one other investigation before that because people were starting to get skeptical of the relationship between the two. And you didn't say anything. You had a perfect opportunity to end all of that you claim that you were under. All the power that he had, all the stuff that you were claiming that you were trying to pull away, but he wouldn't let you. He wouldn't let me go anywhere. He kept full control over me. You could have said something. You had full opportunity to tell the people at Michigan, Sherrone has been controlling me this whole time. This relationship is not consensual. I don't want to be here. I don't want to work here. It's as simple as that. That's what makes me scratch my head about all this, is that not only you waited until afterwards, and by the way, she continued with that statement saying that she believes he should have gotten jail time. She genuinely said he should be in jail right now. If you felt so strongly, why stay silent for so long? And again, that's the tricky part. I know that it's not that easy, but you could have said something. You could have easily stepped up and said, this man has had control over me for quite some time, and I have no idea what to do about it. And people will be there to help you. They have to. That's literally their whole job. And if they don't, there are avenues that you could have taken to shine light on this, especially in the position you're in. Because if an anonymous leaker walked up to any reporter and said, the assistant to Sherrone Moore is sleeping with Sherrone Moore, you don't think an investigation would have gone into that? They would have figured all that stuff out if you had leaked any of that to anybody? That's the world we live in. So that's why I'm like, this whole thing is so weird. Again, not trying to defend Sherrone at all. He is a POS. He's a genuine POS for not only cheating on his wife, but doing what he did, breaking into this girl's house, scaring her half to death, threatening to kill her with a knife and himself. He is a genuine POS.
Right.
But there were plenty of opportunity for you, Paige, to have gotten yourself out of this, and you didn't. And as somebody who is claiming that your career was in jeopardy, your career is now in jeopardy Because unfortunately, you are now known as Paige Shaver, the assistant to Sherrone Moore, who slept with Sherrone Moore for years. They don't care if if you guys went to court. All they care about is who you are. And if this truly was one of those situations where he had full control over you, why didn't you say anything when they actually were checking into this years before this came to light? That's my only thing.
We got a listener going back to the Vrabel story that he said, did you know Diana named her kid Mike?
Yeah, someone had told me that yesterday, and that's really creepy. But again, I highly doubt they had a relationship when this kid was born.
That was 5 years ago.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah, I had to look it up. I was like, really?
Ew.
Yeah, and the kid was born 5 years ago.
Ew.
Before or after the pictures
How
of
do
6
you
years
look at
ago.
your child in the face and say, "Hi, Michael"? Like, what?
And before
No.
we take our break and welcome Chris Flail, there's some more drama.
Oh Lord.
And as the Chiefs are now dealing with the major off-field story, as assistant coach Dave Merritt was arrested and charged with misdemeanor domestic battery just hours before the draft started. And authorities say the charges involve alleged bodily harm to his daughter.
Oh, of course.
The
Now,
Chiefs did come out and say they are aware of it, and they will wait until the facts come out.
why can we never just sit there and say that we're not supporting this? And again, I understand why you wait until things come out and facts are facts, but can we not just sit there and say we do not condone this nature? And if this is the truth, then we will take severe actions? How hard is that to say? You're not saying that he's fired right now. You're not saying that you're making a decision right now, but you could at least be more stern about it and say, we do not condone this kind of action.
Yeah, we ain't putting up with this.
If this is the truth, we will take immediate action towards him. But until we know the facts, we cannot take those actions. How hard is that to say? I don't understand. I really don't. But again, happens far too often in the NFL. We have plenty of people who have texted and chimed in online on this whole Mike Vrabel situation, and they all say the same thing. But this is the NFL, man. People have crazy lives outside of football. And unfortunately, because the NFL is so popular, you're going to see every single second of it. Let's take a break. We got our guy Chris Flail coming in on the other side. We'll talk a lot of wrestling. We'll talk a lot of NFL draft. And we'll talk about his shows coming up in Clovis. But this is the Early Bird Special. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. Welcome back. Early Bird Special Hour 2 right here on KGEO Sports Talk.
Chris Flail Friday.
Woo! And he wore the one shirt that he knew Sparky would not be happy with.
It's disgusting.
Best in the world, baby.
Is losing.
Is he though?
He's the best loser, that's for sure.
That's the story. That's the story you want. The love. I saw a tweet the other day that says that, loving a losing team is something romantic, and I was like, yeah, you know what it is.
So I was trying to think about this. Last year's Mania, did both Seth and Becky walk away losing?
Last year's Mania?
Yes, last year's Mania, not this year's.
No, last year's Mania, and I got this wrong a couple weeks ago. Last year's Mania, Seth won. Because it was the Paul Heyman. It was the Paul Heyman. By the way, I mix up all
Absolutely.
the events. I start with SummerSlam and just think every event is SummerSlam.
I start with Rumble.
Yeah, it's true too. The reason I ask is
and I
because
think Becky won too.
The reason I ask is because I was sitting there thinking, were they just trying to give back to Seth and Becky's family by both CM Punk and AJ losing the same night?
Just make
it up to them and say, look, I know you have to take so much grief from this family. We're gonna make sure they lose their belts.
Take one
worry.
for the team. I think it's just contractually obligated. If Dwayne Johnson is going to sit on the board of TKO, we have to have a 30-person bloodline story for at least one quarter of the business year.
I am all for more bloodline. I have no issue with more bloodline.
It is brutal.
Look, man,
it is brutal.
You're right. It's brutal for everybody else.
Are the brothers going to stay with him or are they going to go? It's tune in for the next 19 weeks.
You got some hate against Roman?
Oh, there's a lot of hate against Roman.
I can tell now. Now we're totally different people now.
See?
No, I thought it was my brother over here, and now I'm like, I'm all Roman.
I like Roman. I love Roman. But,
really?
But people forget. So we all have, when he dropped the belt, we all immediately went to appreciation and thank you, Roman, for everything that you did for the last 5 years to carry the company. But we are prisoners of the moment, and we forget that when he has the belt, it's going to be a painstaking, miserable, too long, same story.
We don't know that.
Well,
it could change.
It could change. But,
it could absolutely change.
But the start of it is the only difference is Jacob Fatu is going to be the person now.
That was horrible.
Solo or whoever.
Honestly, in last year's WrestleMania,
part of it eventually.
Becky and Lyra won
as the new enforcer, and then you could have Solo doing his own thing because it looks like they're going to kick him out of the MFTs pretty soon here.
Yeah, it's just going to be all. Rikishi is going to be the only happy person in America with wrestling.
And you know what? Maybe that's why they did this, because they just don't want to hear him talk about his sons anymore. And they kept dropping the ball with Jay, so you might as well give it back to Roman.
Yeah,
that's how money's made.
Or the Hulk documentary came out, and they took another look at the Yokozuna character. They're like, you know what, the bloodline deserves another run here, considering how we started this whole thing.
Look, man, I that's one of my favorite piece of wrestling trivia to ask people. It's like, what nationality was Yokozuna? And they all look at me and say, Japanese.
Yeah.
No, not even close.
They tried.
Not even close.
Technically still an island, yes,
but
besides
wrong
that,
island.
Not even at all. So Lexi, my fiance, never saw Yokozuna until we were watching the documentary yesterday.
Yep.
And she said, she goes, he's so clearly not Japanese.
Was it the Hogan one?
He's just heavier than normal for Samoan or Maori.
Speaking, that's why I wanted to bring that up too, because I know you've watched all of it, Sparky.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten a chance to actually dive into this yet. Is it worth watching?
I'm really happy with how it went so far.
I liked the documentary, but it's nothing we really haven't seen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I was worried it was going to be like that. Dun dun. It was all bad, and it was just and everybody going, I never liked this.
One thing I brought out of the whole thing is how delusional Hogan was that last 15 or 20 years, because he thought he could, win and be the president. He could do all these things, and I really lost a lot of respect for his ex-wife. The first one.
You're so right about that, which, by the way, he may be the best sports entertainment liar of all time.
Right.
My favorite part of the documentary is he was talking about his movie career before he went back to WCW, and he goes, look, brother, like I was getting bored on set, and he goes, I appreciate the offer to be the next John Wayne, but I gotta go. And the montage of movies was Mr. Nanny, Santa with Muscles,
Suburban Commando.
And he's
Thunder in Paradise.
But if you had a good movie at all.
But in his mind, he's like, I was gonna be the next John Wayne.
I got to work with the greats,
He's
Christopher
the
Lloyd.
best. Hulk Hogan, LeBron James, best sports liars of all time.
I could give that. Yeah.
One thing I did
LeBron's up
agree.
there.
when he said, I should have retired after the match with The Rock, which was 100% correct. But a listener texted and said that Becky won last year with Lyra. She teamed up with Lyra.
Right, because that's
and
when
beat
Bailey
Liv.
got thrown out.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, again, I was just trying to think in my head, did both Seth and Becky lose last year? Not to AJ and CM Punk, but maybe they were just trying to throw them a bone here because they've been beat up by that family for so dang long.
We've covered so much ground in the last year. I forgot about the Becky Lyra, even that little couple weeks.
Hey, you know what's
Sure.
funny? They reminded us of it on Unreal because that was like half of the entire season.
But we haven't talked to you since WrestleMania.
Yeah.
What was your overall thoughts of it?
I liked it. It was a fun time. I gotta say, I thought it was going to be more unpredictable going in. It was, the storylines kind of stayed, besides, you know, the main event stuff was, you know, Oba ran through Brock Lesnar, which we all kind of felt was going to happen. But I think for the most part, we agreed it wouldn't be the worst thing if it didn't happen that way.
Absolutely.
So that happened. They got the rocket ship attached to him. I thought it was a fun event. It didn't blow me away. You know, the way, you know, you go through, you check Twitter and they always go to the greatest 5.5 minutes of wrestling history when we had all the, you know, we had the Cena return, the Rock return, the Undertaker. There wasn't that big crescendo moment as a WrestleMania is. I think, Sparky, I texted you and I said, this just feels like a really good Monday Night Raw.
And Raw was really good this week, but I was just going to ask because the Brock retirement. I was like, was that a big surprise to you, or?
It was a surprise to me that he lost that quickly and did it the same way that he beat Cena, which, by the way, what a service to the business and the industry that he just gave. And I find this a lot. I've got this little theory of my own that extreme winners, and especially extreme alpha winners, are often very very misunderstood. You see this when you watch the Jordan documentary too. These people are often a lot more thoughtful and sensitive than you would ever perceive them to be. And if you listen to 10 minutes of any Brock Lesnar interview, he comes off as much more humble and thoughtful than you would ever expect,
especially when it comes to combat sports.
Especially that, and especially when it comes to losing and winning, and things like that.
Well, because the picture they paint of him is that he would never lose, he would never, you know, help out the industry,
right?
And I've got a sneaking suspicion that it's either just age or he has some health things creeping up, because it didn't necessarily look like that was when he was going to go. I mean, everyone saw him give the X to Paul Heyman, but he also mouthed when he gave the X, he said, "That's it, Paul." So it's almost like it seemed like they were having some talks ahead of that this, I might not be able to go anymore. And especially when you see that video of him at the Rumble, where I think he motions to Cody and said, "Hey, pop me out of here."
Yeah. And honestly, we talked about that story yesterday, that there's a weird rumor looming that the WWE is looking to sue him for $1 million for breach of contract due to, you know, they planned, or at least what the story is claiming, is that their original plan was for him to face Gunther at SummerSlam. And now that that's not on the table, they've obviously ruined that plan. But again, it's like you just said, I think that there is a long-standing respect for Brock Lesnar across the board in every organization he's been in. And I'm pretty sure Paul Levesque and everybody that's at least running WWE, can't speak for TKO, but WWE at least understands this dude can dictate when he's done, when he's going to keep going.
There was the same reports that were saying that there was a big shouting match after that match with him and Triple H, and I don't believe any of it. And I would hope that the WWE is not that pity that they're going to go after $1 million with Brock.
We could be seeing this on Unreal season 5 here in about a year and a half.
Even if they are that petty, that would be the dumbest move WWE and TKO could make. Because here's why: you can't sue somebody for being injured. Number one, if he just said he's got diverticulitis, we all know that. If he just says my body can't go anymore, you're not going to get any money out of him. Number one. And number two, good luck signing any legend toward the end of their career after that, if that's what you do.
Well, and not even just that, but it's, can you even sue somebody for retiring from their job?
That's a good question.
Can you do that?
In sports? Absolutely not. In regular life? Absolutely not.
Right,
as a performer, I'm not sure.
Athletes retire all the time before their contracts are up.
Yeah.
All the time.
It depends on contractually how that money was
exactly
committed.
what I was thinking. Unless he'd signed some deal for SummerSlam and that was like the big
there
poster.
Was an understanding of it. Yeah, I could see that being the case.
It's a combat sport,
right?
You know what I mean?
who's to say that he didn't go into WrestleMania thinking I could probably stick this out till SummerSlam?
Yeah.
Did that match with Oba and realized, oh, I can't do this the way I used to anymore.
Yeah.
And then that's when he just kind of had that moment and said, you know what? Nah, like I can't do it.
I respect him, dude, because I thought that was that G way to go out.
Yes,
absolutely.
Pass it
on your own. Or
wish the Undertaker would have done the same.
yeah, honestly, it was his decision. It was all done the way it really should have been done. And like you just said, Spark, you pass the torch to the new beast of the company. He did right by him. I don't see that's why I just don't believe that story's real. I think that's more of a fan base thing because they're upset that the beast is no longer going to be wrestling.
I agree. I can't imagine Triple H not understanding.
I can't either.
As a former wrestler
and somebody who had to retire due to a medical emergency because of his heart condition.
That's
stuff like that. There's no way he doesn't understand.
And he's had to pivot on things in the moment way more difficult than trying to find Gunther a new storyline for SummerSlam.
Yeah, right. I would expect Triple H, being a former wrestler, he'd probably be the first guy with open arms to hug him in the Gorilla. So
I agree.
I don't see any video coming out of them shouting at each other at WrestleMania Night 1 or 2.
If that video was real, we would have saw it already.
Exactly.
What I also think is so cool is how Paul Heyman really stands for his guys.
Yes.
The way he came out on Monday and just one more time, like, I just want to say
ripped into the production booth,
but also just I want to write a quick love letter to my friend who will only understand it this way. If I scream at because if I cry out, that's not what we do with each other.
Yeah,
I got to do it this way. But I just want one more time. Let's not forget this guy. I thought that was really cool, and especially because all of the last couple of years with him involved in the litigation and all that stuff, where he could have very easily been ushered out and canceled from the group.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his one advocate in there saying, absolutely not. He's in the if I'm around, he's going in forever.
Absolutely.
As a friend, you're like, man, you need people like that around you.
Do they do a quick turnaround Hall of Fame inductee like they did AJ? Obviously not for this year, but for next year.
Yeah, I don't think so, especially because they haven't done that for Cena yet either.
True.
As far as I know.
True.
And it seems like to me the AJ Styles Hall of Fame thing was a bit circumstantial. Like it seemed like there was a bit, we talked about that. It seemed like there may have been a bit of a negotiation going on in front of us.
I think that the original plan was John. Because I remember seeing at some point that they were talking about John Cena going into the Hall of Fame right away, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think when John probably told him, no, let's wait on that. They said, oh God, well then who are we going to give this to? AJ, he's retiring.
And also the way AJ was, I think there was a negotiation as to how and whether AJ rides off into the sunset. When he did that gloves thing, it seemed like very much a moment of like, I do want to walk away and be done, but if you don't take care of me the right way, I don't have to be.
Right.
There's a couple places I can go.
Yeah, because he could easily make a transition over to AEW or TNA and be equally as popular.
And they let that breathe for a few days. So I wonder if that Hall of Fame thing wasn't part of a bigger package.
It's possible. It absolutely is.
So what'd you think about Raw? Because now we're seeing kind of the new young crowd, excuse me, the new roster ads with a lot of the NXT come-ups.
Ethan Page coming to Raw, which I thought was really
Joe Hendry concert.
Absolutely.
I'm super excited.
They finally did right by Io Sky by putting her in the same match she's been in for the last 4.5 months. Just kidding. You got your best wrestler just in a tag match again for no reason, and say goodbye at the airport again. See you in 10 days, Rhea, I guess.
Yeah, that's what Sparky had brought that up on Tuesday, and I have to agree with him. I don't understand the crying goodbye from Rhea. It's not like you can't just come to the show at any point in time.
I think I'm Io Sky's Paul Heyman. I'm just a ever fatter, balding man yelling at the truck for Io Sky.
Oh, man. She's gonna get her time eventually. Again, it's just they don't have anybody really to put her up against yet.
Yep.
Now, Liv could be a good matchup against her, but we've seen that already. So let's let some of these younger talents come up, your Sol Rukas and all of that.
Sol Rukas is probably the only one I'm looking forward to.
You're gonna like Joe Hendry and Ethan Page, man.
Negative.
I want this recorded. I want to know.
Not gonna happen.
I think Sol Ruca, by the way, is going to get that good old fashioned Stephanie Vaquer slowdown in the ring, because she looked like she wasn't working the safest in the ring.
No.
Well, again,
And then the next night she goes through a table.
it's probably excitement though. At the same
Yeah,
time,
it
like
is,
she's just ready to get started.
I thought she broke Roxanne's nose during, and I think she's going to get the good old, if you don't knock this off, we're going to treat you like Penta.
Kind of like Cody did, or Seth did to Braun.
And Penta had that 3-4 months where he was just getting worked after it seemed like he was a bit too stiff in there too.
A little bit, but I mean, again, I think it's just nerves and excitement. She's just trying to do her best and make it look as real as possible.
Of course,
but
if
I'm Roxanne Perez, though, at this point, I'm looking at everybody and say, look, if you guys continue to injure me before I get my next match again, I'm going to get pissed.
And she's got to be like, hey, I'm 4 years younger than your up and comer. Can you not do this to me?
Where are we going with me? Come on.
She had the whatever situation where she had to go into surgery on the back situation because she had I don't even remember what it was, but it's the reason she's been gone for like a month and a half.
I didn't know that.
Then she comes back and gets the head-to-head collision with Liv and has an equally as big of a freaking knot on her head. Yeah. I'm like, are y'all just trying to hurt the prodigy?
Same thing with Javon. Yeah, they've got their two young 20-year-olds that they're just
saying. It's like, dude,
they're putting too many miles on them.
Save the kids at this point. Let them be okay. Real quick before we shift over to football, there was something that I wanted to play for you because I saw it yesterday, and all of us being wrestling fans here and all of us being Seth Rollins fans and football fans in general, we all know that Seth Rollins has been a guest host, I guess, best way to put it, on Good Morning Football for the better part of a couple months since his faked injury and then the real injury and then, whatever the heck he's doing now. But this happened yesterday during their draft show, spectacular, whatever you want to call it, when Kyle Brandt, the host of the show, for some reason decided to really just go off on Seth for no reason, in my opinion. But this is what happened.
NFL at 42 versus wrestling at 30. NFL at 32 is more impressive than wrestling at 39. Whoa, NFL at 22. And Manti, you're trying to be gracious. The wrestlers can't do, the NFL guys can't do what some of the wrestlers can. Any 7th round pick tonight can go off the top rope. They can do that stuff. And by the way, half the roster, Seth, is like in the late 30s, early 40s. NFL at 42 is like Ric Flair in his bleeping 60s. We're talking about a real sport, not predetermined, big time hits, 22 people. I figured out what it is with Seth. I just figured it out.
What did you figure out?
I figured it out. You're a little nervous because it's night 1 of the draft, and you know that next year you'll be night 1 only at WrestleMania, and there's a symmetry there for you, and I think I finally tapped into it. You got us together. Do you need to take a walk? We can go get Gunther and make you take a walk if you want to. Like, it's up to you.
Oh, my God. So Seth gets up and literally walks out of the production. I have that bite too, but we don't have to play it because all it is Seth saying, I don't have to be treated this way, blah, blah. It's typical stuff that you hear people who are ignorant of wrestling say, any NFL player can do what you guys do. I can do what you guys do. It's all fake.
So
do you think this was legit though? Or do you think, because I was talking to Sparky about this, I think the WWE just told him, hey, we need you back full time. You got to stop doing the football stuff.
Here's the best part about being 8 o'clock Johnny on the show is about 12 minutes ago, I was in the parking lot and I saw they just did Good Morning Football this morning.
Yeah.
They came out and confirmed to everybody that it was a work.
It was a work. Okay.
It was a work.
So.
At first I wasn't even necessarily sure after they said it was a work.
Kyle Brandt has been such a positive person towards Seth this entire time. And it's like, that to just kind of happen that way was wild.
But I wasn't sure. I actually got up and did a little bit of a dive on Kyle Brandt this morning just to see what does he come from.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at it, and he was like a rich suburbs of Chicago kid. Of course. He went to Princeton, but he was starting running back at Princeton for 3 years. So the next thing I thought was, maybe he's defending football because he has a whatever to it.
A background with
the Tom Brady thing. Yeah.
But as I started looking, I was like, well, that's not what I expected for somebody who would go off because you've got hanger-oners and little rich boys will do this.
Yes,
they do this. And I've had this in my life. But when I looked him up, I was like, that just doesn't feel right.
That's why I showed this video to my roommate yesterday, who is not a wrestling fan. He's not even really a sports fan, but he just kind of was hearing the bite and listening to it with me, and I showed him. And we were talking about it the same way. And even he said, he's like, that's kind of ridiculous for him to say. Like, the stuff that I've watched with you, there's no way NFL players could do that.
Yeah.
But that's also what made me laugh. Is like, that's what made me feel like it was a work, because everything Brandt is saying is the stereotypical BS you hear every non-wrestling fan say. And it just seemed way too easy.
So the reason I believe it was a work is when you go watch this clip later today, they tell the other two co-hosts it's a work. And Manti Te'o in the other studio, when
he's still around.
He's still around.
Wow.
You could tell he's a bit annoyed. Like his
annoyed
accent,
with it.
his accent like it comes out so hard that you could tell he was really annoyed and stressed out over the last 24 hours. And so I do believe because of that
it was
a
definitely done better than the Cameron and
Cameron and Jay, yeah,
that
which
one was
they've
horrible.
extended that as well. Cameron did an entire
really?
video calling out Roman, saying you need to check your cousin and all this other stuff.
But
So that's not over either.
by the way, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Mhm.
If you're not happy with how you're being treated in airports and hotels, you are setting a terrible precedent for how people are going to talk to you in the general public.
This is true.
Especially
Absolutely
if you
true.
walk around wearing a CM Punk shirt.
You know, I don't need you know what?
I don't need this.
Do the rest of the segment yourself.
I'm out of here.
Fine.
Oh my God.
Oh
Yeah.
my
You want to take a
gosh.
break real quick? And then
Let's do it.
Let's take a break real quick. We'll get into some of the draft talk on the other side. Plus, we got to talk about your show coming up in Clovis.
I'm going to throw a towel at Sparky.
Oh God. This is the early bird special. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. Welcome back. Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports 101.1 FM. Chris Flail is with us. It is Flail Friday.
Which before we get into, the NFL, the NBA playoffs, all of that, I believe Mr. Flail has a new podcast.
Oh yeah, thank you for that. Sports Cheesemate with the love of my life. I am a lifelong sports fan. She is a lifelong fan of gossiping.
Nice.
I'm trying to get her into sports through the world of gossiping, and as you both know, we have more than our fair share. And now that she's such a WWE fan, the episodes are going to be 90% wrestling,
Of course.
and the other 10% is Mike Vrabel.
That's
How do we find it?
We'll get into Mike Vrabel as well.
My YouTube channel, Chris at Chris Flail Comedy, or at Flaley's Place. I think either one you can get to me, which is a tribute to my grandparents had a bar called Flaley's Place.
Right on.
So,
Nice.
yeah, I used to grow up filling up RC colas behind the bar.
That's
Out in Philly or here?
Back home in Pennsylvania.
Oh, right
If
on.
you were from Philly, you would be so offended if I said Philly. So I'm in the middle of the woods, 2 hours north of Philly. But for brevity's sake,
Philadelphia.
Yes.
Yeah.
What else do you guys talk about outside of wrestling?
Wrestling, anything in the sports world that's a topic of conversation that might be a little bit salacious.
So basically, anything we talk about on this show.
That's
you guys
exactly
just follow.
Have
right.
you
So
gotten
we
into
got
the Vrabel
we
stuff
did
yet?
we did Vrabel we did
Nice.
Vrabel Rossini. She is eating it up
I'm
like
telling
a
you,
snack.
we just talked about it. The fact this has been going on for 6 years. Now we have more photos
Okay,
coming out.
And
so
she named her kid Mike.
Yeah,
they
she named her kid Mike.
here's
This is creepy.
Here's the sad, bittersweet. They were in love.
Oh yeah.
They're in love.
That's what you
They're
want to call
just
it.
destroying.
Stop it.
They're
Everyone
just
else.
destroying two innocent
Stop
families
it.
in the meantime.
And some kids, exactly.
Yeah, they're just
Stop it.
destroying
They
people.
yes, they're in love, and she just named her son after him and everything. And
How-
God, is it even? Oh
You
Lord,
feel okay. So Vrabel, it annoys me to no end that Vrabel seems to somewhat be skating on this because, look, say what you want. Diana Rossini's been probably playing with fire for a couple of years, but she is the inside information acquirer. That she receives inside information.
yes, that's a job.
The coach of a football team not only uses inside information, but creates inside information.
Yep.
And somehow he is getting in no trouble. And then for that press conference to not be a leader and a man, to number one, apologize to the family, to the team and all that stuff, but also to acknowledge that them being tied up in this has ruined the life of his dance partner
Yes.
in this whole scandal. And he is doing fine. She has worked her whole life for better and worse to get to this point. It could very well be over. He is chilling at another vacation resort instead of sitting boringly at the draft and is going to coach the team just fine.
Well, he's going through therapy.
Great. Great.
Ooh, you're missing 2
marriage
days of the
counseling,
draft.
baby. Marriage
Yippee-ki-yay.
counseling.
Great.
No, I agree with you. That's what we said earlier this morning too. That now with all of this coming out, that especially this has been a relationship for multiple years, you can't ignore it as for his side of it. You can't because for the exact reasons you just said. Who's to say she's not funneling information to him? Who's to say that he's not funneling information to her? Like they have to do something.
Absolutely. And if they do, again, this makes me feel like the NBA referee scandal. If they're not putting this under a microscope, I would assume it's because it's rampant.
Yes, 100%. But the other question that Sparky has brought up, and we still don't have an answer for, who do you think hired the PI?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Has been hiring this PI for 6 years.
TMZ has dropped the ball on this one.
But I think I told you, I saw like some weird insider on Twitter like 3-4 months ago that said the final straw of what got him knocked out of Tennessee was because he showed up to the Christmas party with
somebody that was
somebody else.
Well, at this point, it was probably her.
I mean,
I would hope.
I mean,
really,
not-
at this, really.
if not,
Otherwise,
there's
there's
more
somebody else
victims.
too.
But could you imagine being that owner? Not only is your coach showing up with someone that isn't his spouse, but it's with another
A
NFL
reporter.
insider, and you'd be like, "What are you doing?"
It would
you
make a lot
doing
of
here?
sense. And again,
And the Patriots are like, bring it. We love this type of circus.
Yeah. As long as you go 13-4, we're good.
We
We're
don't
cool,
care.
brother.
I mean, again, the pictures that came out though were from just 2 years ago, right after he got fired from the Titans.
They look so happy. By the way, nothing more exciting than just being a dirt dog in a Biloxi casino.
Absolutely.
Am I right, Ted DiBiase Jr.? Come on.
He was at Mania too. Did you see that? He was watching the match between Cody and Randy.
And he was doing the film himself, divorced 50-year-old dad angle
watching
thing too.
From the sideline, just being like, I should be in there. Yeah, if you weren't stupid, maybe you would be.
You know what he was doing? You brought him up earlier in the show. He was doing Isaiah Thomas, tweeting every NBA team saying he's ready to go whenever their point guard.
And that goes back to the Hogan documentary, because there is all sorts of points. They say, if it wasn't for Vince and Hogan capitalizing on our 3 wars with Iran, Hogan would have been nothing, because whether it was the Iron Sheik, whether it was Sergeant Slaughter, and even how he wrapped it up, with the whole I'm running behind Trump, he just talks about, and of course the president is a part of the documentary.
Naturally.
But it was cool to see, going way back when WrestleMania used to be at the Trump Towers, and Donald Trump, a young Donald Trump, sitting ringside, and it just goes into some crazy stuff.
Maybe it's just my age, but I mean, I've said this before when he passed. I'm not a huge Hulk Hogan fan, Terry Bollea fan, whatever you want to call him. And it's because I know he's a POS outside. And we all know he's a POS outside.
But we wouldn't have wrestling.
So it's true. I give him credit for that.
So I guess here's a question for you. How do you feel about Ric Flair?
Same.
Okay, then fair. Because they are very much that class of the gimmick overtook the person, and it just kind of became that.
My thing also is, being a POS outside is what it is. But for the videos that I've seen Hulk Hogan, even within the industry, sit there and say that, can anybody do one move better than me? I'm like, yeah, there's a ton of people that can do one move better than you, Hulk, because you only have 2 of them, and they both sucked.
Can you imagine, though, the leg drop of 40 plus years, and it shows his x-rays on his spine?
It's the same thing with Stone Cold Stunner. It absolutely destroys your back.
It's the thing I like about this documentary is that I feel like the documentary is doing a good job of showing that how gray life is. Like for example, I will give you a real example that hits maybe a little too close to home about a guest that comes into this studio. If I permission to speak freely, Carlos Mencia comes here every couple weeks and goes down the hall. So most of comedy America knows Carlos Mencia from the Joe Rogan stealing, you're a thief, all this stuff, and you were ruining people's careers in front of them while they had moments and all that stuff. He comes in here, he still does shows. I was around the first time Carlos came and did Temblor Brewing Company. By the way, I was never so proud of this town more. Nobody would open for him. He had to get a local magician to open for him.
Oh, wow. Nice.
But here's what I'll say. He had his publicist call. This is why he comes and does the show still. He had his publicist call every radio show in town at that time to do his own press. He showed up to Temblor 6 hours before the show, and because it was he helped, and they told me this, he helped them rewire all of their sound speaker equipment so that the main room, 325 people, would sound perfect. He did 2 shows. He did a 90-minute meet and greet for every single person that wanted to talk and do a picture afterwards for free. They could buy an album or a picture, but he would say hi to them for free. And also all of those other things. And I talked to his feature act in between shows, and the feature act said that he was treated pretty poorly in every day. So there's all of those things. And when you watch this Hulk Hogan documentary, you're getting all of he was the large part of what created the industry in the business. He changed the lives of, there's so you hear from Flair or Sheik years ago. But then there's all, even in his own family, if you talk to Nick Hogan, he's a hero. If you talk to Brooke Hogan, he's much different. Life is just much more ugly and dirty and gray than we like to think it is. And he is the consummate example of that.
Yeah. And the difference between Hogan was he was a heel for many, many years. I mean, I grew up, taking my vitamins and, making your prayers and all of that. I still have my wrestling buddy of Hogan. I don't remember being a Hogan big fan because the Ultimate Warrior and The Undertaker was right around those times in the late 80s when they came in, and my mind went straight to them. But seeing the evolution, I mean, it was kind of sad, just like a lot of these older documentaries are for these older wrestlers, is, he was on top of the world, and seeing what drugs, cheating on your family and wife, being on the road 300 plus days of the year,
letting a surfer in the house, letting a 19-year-old surfer in your house.
Exactly. But seeing, what it does to your ego.
Yeah.
There was the real Hogan, and then there was, the Hulk, and there towards the end of 40 plus years, you forget who you are and who your family is. And that was the sad part.
But also the documentary does this thing. Like you said, they have Trump on the documentary, and they show the flashback to, I think it's 1988 is when they're wrestling in Trump Plaza or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, you and me, you two, 35 years from now, we started being friends about a year and a half ago. 34 years from now, one of you runs for office. I don't care what people think about you. I'm coming to support you. They were friends for 36 years.
Right.
You asked to come speak at my convention. You asked the greatest live crowd showman maybe of all time. And if you go back and watch that speech, these stiff, stupid Republican goofballs are all like going wild like it's the Pontiac Superdome.
Oh, he says it felt like I was at WrestleMania 3.
To elect the most antagonistic to liberal candidate of all time, or at least since Richard Nixon, and the very next public time we see Hulk Hogan is in Los Angeles, California.
Yeah.
And then he dies.
Yeah.
It's like it's a tragedy.
It was a full
comedy
circle.
tragedy.
I mean, he met a girl, he found Jesus, and he started to clean up his life. But 40 years on the mat,
but then also started a beer company.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's
and he swears up and down that he only got into the politics because he said for 40 years he was going to stay away from religion and stay away from politics. But he said as soon as somebody tried to shoot Trump, that's when he had to step in. And either way, I keep my politics and my religion thoughts out of everything I do in the media, but we steered back into wrestling, and the NBA basketball playoffs are going on. We're day 2 of the NFL draft, and I figured one of the big things we've talked about is Mr. Lemon and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Sure.
And how did you like night 1 of the draft?
I like the pick. I like Mekhi Lemon. I like that you like Mekhi Lemon.
I love
because you
Mekhi
know
Lemon.
football a lot better than I do. So I like that. Here's some things that concern me or make me happy. I don't know. So it seems like for all intents and purposes, Mekhi Lemon is going to be taken to replace the role of A.J. Brown.
Yes, more than likely.
A.J. Brown's going to be gone. However, as far as I understand, Mekhi Lemon, so he's 5'11", 192 pounds.
Yeah, you're not getting the same style of receiver.
That's right. He's for the most part slot receiver.
Yeah, so slot, middle of the field type of guy. Yeah,
which will take the hit or whatever. But it plays. It seems like we're having a scheme change now to exactly what Jalen Hurts likes, which is to take deep shots and stay between the hashes.
Yep.
He doesn't seem to like the deep outs or the sideline routes.
Nope.
But I do think that could be a problem later on in the season when games get close to not have that dimension to your team. So as long as we win and play bully ball, great. But if we're down 4 with a minute and a half to go, that could be a real problem.
I like it, and I think if they go back, and it was the same thing I was asking last year, as a Jalen Hurts drafter, and I have him in my franchise, I'm like, go back to the option.
Yeah.
Because that's what, that's where Jalen really lights it up. And I think with Devontae Smith and with Lemon, I mean, they could do some damage.
They could, but he does have a very good point that if you isolate your offense that way and you really take out a big piece of it, which is the sideline game, you're going to struggle eventually, especially going against teams like the Cowboys who are taking players like Caleb Downs who aren't going to make it easy for you to go deep.
It just helps to have a big possession wide receiver to when I need 8 yards, I have an indefensible route that I could throw to. But I do like the talent of this receiver, and he's coming in with 2 things, most importantly, a rookie contract, and even more importantly, a rookie attitude. Which
and at
will
the end
be
of the
nice
day, they
change
don't
of
have
pace.
to trade AJ. He's under contract. And I personally, I can see now that they've drafted Lemon that other teams will get in that mix for AJ Brown, whether it's a team like Buffalo or a team like Miami.
Well,
personally.
trading him is going to free up about $29 million for Howie to get busy and shore up some issues.
I personally
Glad you jumped on the train.
I don't want him.
Miami. I know you don't want him, but I'm just saying Miami is a destination.
But I know Miami. What I've heard from the conversations is Miami is not in a rush, and they think they can get receivers in the second, third, even later rounds. but they're playing for the future.
Right. But again, there's something about having a guy you can rely on like that it just makes it easier for players. So that's why I'm saying, granted, you're probably right. They could find a wide receiver 2, a wide receiver 3 in rounds 3, 4, or 5. But when you have a guy like A.J. Brown as a wide receiver 1, it'll make it much easier for those guys.
I think he was complaining in Philly. Come down to Miami and see what kind of trouble you can get into.
But see, he's complaining because he's not getting the ball. And what better place to get the ball than a place that doesn't have a wide receiver?
100%.
So that's why I'm thinking in my head, Miami's not the worst idea. Although, again, I agree with you. The attitude makes me really wonder, do you want him there? Because, again, Atlanta was thrown around about a year ago for a destination for him as well. It's never going to happen, but it was a destination.
Whoever gets him is going to be really happy for about 1.5 to 2 years.
Yep, until he's finally fed up with not winning. And
there is there's a honeymoon period, so you'll enjoy that.
100%. Who are you kind of hoping to get here in the rounds 2, 3, and 4 tonight?
Oh, I wouldn't even pretend to speculate.
I'm sorry, let's not name drop, but like position wise, what are you hoping they go for?
Well, I hope they build the offensive line because of all the injuries that the team suffered last year, and we really struggled, especially at the center position after that. So,
and this is the right draft to really find a guy to fill those holes.
I would like to see a little bit bolstering there. And as always with the Philly team, the secondary can always use a little bit more help.
So my family was all laughing at me because after we, drafted that 6'6", 350-pound offensive lineman, the first thing I was yelling in the living room, Oba, Oba. She's like, what?
He's about the same size as Oba. I think Oba's actually.
Ours is 40 pounds.
We can't,
a little heavier,
we can't stay away from wrestling. You did this time, not me.
I'm just saying.
You did this.
What about the NBA playoffs, man?
Yeah. When I can find where it is, it took me 25 minutes to find the Timberwolves Nuggets game last night.
Yeah, that's kind of becoming a problem with me too. I can never tell if it's going to be on Prime, Peacock. Like
I will say, you both laughed at me when I talked about the Atlanta Hawks in here last week.
No. You absolutely had it
They
right.
would have beat your Cavs like a drum. They would have beat them like a drum.
I still don't think they get out of it.
You think James Harden could survive 2 nights at Magic City and play a good game the next day?
Toronto, absolutely not.
He's got to play at least 2 games at Magic City, and you think he's going to hold up okay? Not a chance.
I still don't think they get out of that series.
James Harden takes Donovan Mitchell's sweet face into Magic City, and you think they show up to play the next 2 games? There's not a chance. It's over.
Oh, Lord.
What about the West?
Yeah.
LA looking good so far without
they might have Reeves back tonight.
They may have a chance to get them back. And I must say, for someone who's been tough on LeBron, I am really loving LeBron's old head shift era right around since when he came out and was just honest about Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't really like that stuff he said about Bronny, but besides that, he's a great player and all that stuff. And there was kind of like ooh, that was kind of fun out of you. And now he's kind of swung into elder statesman. He's not LeBron the liar like he used to be. And I haven't seen LeBron the flopper.
Burdick has said it all week. I mean, what he's bringing to these other guys on the team and getting the best out of them, maybe his best, maybe let Luka rest a couple days.
All LeBron has ever needed is a whole ton of 3-point shooters around him. He will figure out how to get you the ball.
And to play and to play off the ball, by the way, as long as you're not running the offense through him. I remember hearing an analyst saying his floor as a talent is Karl Malone. He could be Karl Malone until he's 65 years old.
He really could.
I think he can be even more than that as long as you don't run the offense through him, which is what I keep saying, not to digress too much, which is what I keep saying about Caitlin Clark, by the way. They can be a championship contending team if you don't run the offense through her, but I don't think they're ever going to do that.
It's the same thing like the Suns are dealing with. I mean, they have a lot of young talent, but as soon as they let, Durant run point,
I was going to say
the Rockets. I mean, yeah.
Do you guys think Houston made the wrong decision trading for Durant?
Yes.
No, I don't think they made the wrong decision. I just think that they're missing a key piece to this team, which is Fred VanVleet. I think if they had a point guard that was actually facilitating the offense, this team would look way better than it
But last year they had that young, tough nucleus, and they were hard-nosed.
Yes.
And the team matched the coach so well, and no one was really bigger as a personality than the coach.
True.
So they all took that identity. And it really worked for them. And I thought we were about to see the next upswing of the Oklahoma City Thunder as a dynasty that built in-house. And I don't feel like the team culture has gelled the same way since they brought in Durant.
Well, I don't think Kevin has helped that, because obviously there were the tweets that came out, albeit he hasn't exactly admitted to being the one who released them.
About that, yeah.
But we all kind of know it was Kevin Durant that released all these really negative tweets about the Rockets and his former teammates, or at least missing said former teammates. But again, I feel like if they had a true facilitator of an offense, this would look a lot better than it actually does. And that's really what they're missing right now.
They should have got Harden personally, but we had a listener saying, don't forget to talk about my Blazers. And he said there was a rumor that Lillard might return in a couple games.
What?
I was like, really?
Brother, I don't know if
that's
you
the first
want
I've heard of
that.
it.
I don't know if you want that. Not that we don't miss Dame on a court, but he hasn't played all year.
For a while.
You want to talk about a rusty player. Like he will come back to play for the Blazers next season, but I don't think you want that right now.
It's been a valiant run for Portland. I think it's going to come to a close here pretty shortly, but also pay that man Tiago Splitter.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. This
Come
guy
on.
has turned this team into or I won't say a contender, but at least a playoff team. And they didn't have their star player all season.
They're interviewing candidates right now.
I know. It's absolutely ridiculous. You got to keep this guy as the coach.
Yeah.
And another former NBA player turned coach, by the way, that wasn't a great player, but he clearly understands the game very, very well.
Yeah. But speaking of Dame, back to my team of the month, CJ McCollum finally getting the credit that I always felt like he deserved in Portland, but always kind of got treated like the Robin and the backup dancer. I think he's a lot more responsible for that team's success than he ever got credit for.
They should never have broken those two up.
So agree.
And the Knicks should never brought Mike Clown in, but
yeah, that's true too.
No, look at him now.
And you know what's funny is the Knicks can't play defense worth a damn, and that's what Mike Brown is supposed to be the best at.
Right.
Yeah.
Supposed to be.
Right.
Come on, Chicago, bring back Tibbs, baby.
I'm just telling you, this is why I believe, and I know, Sparky, you said that you believe the Knicks get out of this series. I don't think they do.
I do, and I still think they wake up and it'll be 6-7 games, but
the Hawks were up by what, like 15 last night at one point? They only won by 1, but they still had a handed lead throughout the majority of the game.
I mean, the thing is, they're swinging so far above their weight class.
Yeah.
But right now, they're
we've seen a lot of teams where they just take the night off.
True.
I mean, we've seen it with Boston. I was not expecting Philly to spank them. I wasn't expecting the Cavs to lose.
I would agree with that if that was the only game they've lost this series.
Right.
Though. This is now back-to-back
and
games.
I 100% agree.
Well, and you're right about Boston. They're good. So they play the worst style of basketball I've ever seen in my life. But
it's live or die by the three. It's 100% live or die.
And in any series, they're going to be. I think they shot 13 for 50 in that loss, and they just keep shooting. So they're going to be good for a 22% 3-point shooting night every series and get beat. But
I swear, I feel like Brad Stevens, when they played the Warriors in that finals, looked at what Clay and Steph did and said, we're going to recreate that.
7 inches taller.
But just 7 inches taller.
It seems like we all agree, but disagree on which team it is. So which team do you think that will be the upset in the first round?
Ooh.
I still got Orlando. I don't think Detroit makes it out of this first series.
You do. I think Detroit's going to end up being fine. If I have to, I don't think there's going to be a big upset. If I have to choose by default, I'll keep my Atlanta Hawks over the Knicks. I do not think Minnesota is going to close out Denver.
That would be insane if they did, though.
I don't think it. And it's a closer matchup, but I think Denver figured something out toward the end of last night's blowout that they're going to end up being just fine. Is my suspicion.
Nah, you're probably right. I mean, these two have played each other so many times in the last couple of years, probably about as much as Sparky's Bulls have played the Spurs or the Heat in the play-in tournament. But I just don't know, man. I can't count out Anthony Edwards, and for some reason, I trust him more in the playoffs than I do Jokic.
And we're finally getting the one thing we've always been missing, which is a Rudy Gobert mean streak. You remember 5 years ago or whatever when he cried when he didn't make the All-Star game?
Yeah, he was crying that he didn't win the Defensive Player of the Year this year, even though he wasn't even on the final ballot.
But he's angry now. I think 2 years with Grumpy.
Angry Rudy.
I think 2 years with Grumpy.
Okay. All right.
Oh, no.
I'll take an angry Rudy any day of the week, brother. All right.
I'm telling you.
You mean he's going to score 4 points instead of 2? Oh, my God.
But if you look at what he's doing with Jokic right now,
letting
He's
him
banging.
He is.
He
He's
did slow him down
And you're
last
thinking,
night.
and you're thinking of Rudy Gobert. You're thinking of Frenchman.
This is true.
Oh, is
He's
my
not.
sister.
He's spent 2 years with Julius Randle. This is Rudy now. He's not.
Oh,
I
no.
don't know about
He's not
that.
Rudy Gobert. He's
I was Shaq on this one. That
he's
is
Rudy Gobert now.
How Rudy Gobert has been able to stay
He's-
a starter in the league.
He's
this
Rudy
long is-
Gobert now.
Oh God, I have zero faith in Rudy Gobert.
Are the
I
Rockets
really do.
done?
That's
Any
a good
chance-
question.
Silence. Any chance?
You mean in this series or
Yeah.
generally?
In this
Or
series,
just
yeah.
done? Yeah.
They've got a shot in this series, but I
Say-
would put that shot at about 5%.
Say LA
Dude,
goes up tonight. It's over, right?
yeah. If they lose tonight, it's done. Wash it, and
I think the Knicks come back in, and I'm starting to lean on Minnesota too.
all right. You think Minnesota?
You're saying that because I wore the CM Punk shirt. aren't you?
The worst in the world.
There's
My
so
favorite
much
thing of
hate.
WrestleMania, it was AJ losing. Of course it is.
Aw. Mr. Flail, your favorite thing of WrestleMania before we let you go?
Ooh. I don't know if I
Ready
I
to
don't know if I
leave
have
it?
I don't know if I have one moment because all my boyfriends lost.
Oh,
in the
dude,
end.
all
This
the
is
little
true.
Danhausens
All
are
the
awesome,
little
though.
Dan
The CM
Housens.
Punk entrance tugged at my heartstrings. I dug
course.
I dug the the ode to the Indies.
You know,
I
that
thought was
is
really
one
cool.
thing I wanted to say about the draft last night, too. If we get one more host city, get a freaking 20-minute intro before their pick at 20, and then for all of them to leave right afterwards, I'm out. Mr. Flail, thank you for joining us. Thank you all as well.
Thank
We're
you,
out of
boys.
here. See you guys next week.